Superintendent of the DPW, Mike McManus, and our city engineer, Bob Peirent, and they're going to talk about some of the city projects that they're promoting. So, gentlemen, thank you, and thank you for the submittal of proposals. One thing I do encourage is that you try to list based on what you think the major priority is, and then if you have second priorities and third priorities, that we work on that basis and the reason for your priorities. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll start with the solid waste projects that we submitted. There is a phase one, residential trash containers for $525,000 and a phase two for residential recycling containers for $1.1 million. Starting with the trash containers, the city collects refuse from single family homes through 4-unit apartments throughout the city. A lot of trash is placed in plastic bags on the curb, and these bags tend to rip due to weather, due to animals, due to people. And when they do, the trash can get out of the bags. It creates a litter problem, not only in the local area, but it can spread throughout the neighborhood and throughout the city. And when that happens, it creates an unsanitary condition for the residents of Holyoke. When residents use barrels, oftentimes these barrels don't have a lid. The barrels can fill up with water, and that creates a condition where mosquitoes can breed, and with just trash in barrels, flies can breed as well, which is also a health hazard for the city. So with this project, we would purchase large toters for the residential units to collect the trash. They would have a lid, and our employees would be able to dump these toters into the trash trucks with a tipping mechanism. It would also reduce the potential for accidental needle sticks. We get about one of those per year.
Can I just ask a question? So these trash containers, the trucks would be able to
Yes.
pick them up, so they all have some kind of handle on them?
Correct.
Okay. And in the first year, I think it was a lot less money, but is that for...
That's for the trash containers.
Okay, and the second year was for what?
The second one was for recycling containers.
Oh,
More
okay.
recycling
Okay.
containers. Citywide,
Okay.
There's a big demand for recycling. COVID caused an increase in recycling. We can't meet the demand for these larger containers, so the request
Okay.
would be to purchase
Okay.
those containers.
And would that also be the same thing where the truck would be, I'll pick it up when you
It
get your
would.
new trucks?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if I had my choice, it would be the trash containers over the recycling containers. And it would be a benefit to the residents of Holyoke and also DPW employees. And then if we could move on to the sewer projects.
Yep.
So, go ahead.
I'll start off.
Yeah.
What Mike and I have talked about aren't the most exciting projects. From our standpoint, some of the most essential projects.
Yep.
For the city, protecting public health through collecting trash and taking care of sewage.
Yep.
And have very strong COVID-19 as well as public health efforts that would result from that. Our highest priority sewer project is completing rehabilitation work on the city's existing sewer system. The city has over 100 miles of pipe. Much of that pipe.
Yep. Maybe even a little closer to you,
Certainly.
Bob. There you
So
go.
the city's, or the DPW's highest priority project is our sewer rehabilitation request. The city has over 100 miles of pipelines. Many of them were installed in the late 1880s and early 1900s. The pipes are well beyond the useful life of the pipes when they're installed. And what happens, unfortunately, is that many of these pipes are installed, they're all installed underground, and many of them are located in roadways such that when the pipe fails and starts to collapse, that collapse goes undetected for a long period of time. Many times because our roadway structure has a concrete base such that the pipe collapses, you have soil that moves into the pipe and moves into the pipe sometimes maybe for years before it gets detected. We end up having a large void in the roadway, and we many times find a vehicle that drops into the roadway where we have a sinkhole. And we're trying to avoid that. When we have to fix a problem like that, we have to bring an outside contractor typically to do the repair. And that repair oftentimes, one, is extremely disruptive because we're closing down streets, we're impacting residents. Sometimes we have sewage backups onto the streets, sewage backups into basements that can result. And we oftentimes spend many times the cost of actually repairing that pipe had we repaired it proactively versus having to repair it in an emergency basis. Our estimate is it costs us at least 10 times the cost of fixing a pipe like that, digging up the street, than it would cost to actually rehabilitate the pipe before an emergency resulted. So that for every dollar that might be invested in rehabbing the sewers, we get a avoided cost of maybe as much as $10 or more benefit that might come out of the rehab work. An explanation as to why we haven't done a lot of this work in the past, it's that the city has been and continues to be under federal orders to separate our combined sewers, and that really has consumed the vast majority of the resources that we have available to put into capital projects. And as a result of that, even though Mike has asked for a number of years for a budget to be created and established within the overall DPW budget for doing sewer repair, sewer rehabilitation work, that rehabilitation work has typically not been approved by the mayor and by the council. So we really see this as an opportunity to do something that we haven't been able to do in the past that really needs to be done, that will bring a major benefit and more than pay for itself. And with that, I'll turn things over to Mike.
Yeah,
Could I just ask one question on that before you get, so you're requesting $2.5 million this year and $5 million for the 2 years, or for over the 5 years. What percentage of the 100 miles would that repair, do you think?
It's right now we estimate the total $5 million request that we put in would cover about 10 miles of pipeline of rehab work. The city has over 100 miles, so it would be about 10%, somewhat less than 10% of the system.
and we wouldn't rehab every foot of pipe. We would do an evaluation first.
Right.
And that, Bob and I collectively, we have over 50 years of experience doing this exact type of work where
Yep.
we look at pipes, we evaluate it, we determine whether or not it needs rehabilitation, whether it can last another 10, 15, 20 years. And we would only spend the money on pipes that would need rehabilitation. To the budget, why we haven't been doing this in the past, we rely on Suez through our sewer contract to do these emergency repairs. They're the ones with the big checkbook that can go out and do it. The last 3 fiscal years, we've spent over $1 million on repairs. I have a list of some of the repairs. It's exhaustive. There's a lot on Essex Street, Dwight Street, Sargent Street. Some of the repairs are in the $30,000 range. Some of them are $95,000. And this is money that we're spending to fix 20 feet of pipe.
Yep.
It's a lot of money for a very little bang. This project would get us a lot more bang for a lot less money.
Okay. When we're all done, Mike, please send me that, okay?
Pardon
When
me?
we're all done, please make sure I get that list.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we have done this type of work using CDBG funds in the past. Pulaski Park, underneath the skate park, there was a pipe that was collapsing. Instead of digging everything up, we were able to line it and avert a much larger cost. So, timing, we would be able to do this almost immediately. There's no winter shutdown, there's no COVID shutdown. If there's another one of those,
One of the advantages of the type of work that's involved, again, Mike and I have done a lot of it over the years, is interior lining of the pipe. And actually what they do is they take a felt material that's impregnated with an epoxy and can insert that in the pipe, and then they heat that within the pipe. So everything is done below ground, everything is done without digging up the street. And when it's all said and done, it creates a pipeline that's actually stronger than the pipeline that we're lining. And even if the pipeline is somewhat out of shape, we can still line that type of pipe as long as it isn't collapsed.
Yeah.
And you can restore the capacity and the lifespan of the pipe very, very easily by doing this type of work.
Okay.
and there are problems that we know, Cabot and Main Street, that are about to fail. There's one at the end of Appleton Street that we know is about to fail, that if we had the money, we could do this fix now and avert.
So would we be able to get most of this work done in the fall, or we would be able to start it in the fall?
It depends on how much money you give us. If you only give us a little bit, yeah, we could get it done in the fall. If you give us the full $5 million, then it would take a while because there's the evaluation, but also the construction.
Okay.
And it's the contractor lead time as well, that we can't necessarily guarantee we have somebody waiting
Right.
to get hired by the city of Holyoke to do this work, so we'd have to get into the queue.
Okay.
And it would benefit, the citizens of Holyoke. It'd benefit the sewer ratepayers because it's a lot cheaper. The work that Suez does, we pay for it at the end of the year.
Right.
So it does affect our rate.
And it certainly makes the roads safer.
Makes the road safer, and also the health. It prevents sewer backups into people's homes, into the river.
So that is our highest priority project. I'll briefly mention our two other projects. One is to redirect the drain pipe, the overflow pipe from a location in Springdale, the Springdale Pond. The reason that we're really pushing for that is there's a lot of water that is going into our sewer system from that pond that can be very readily redirected in the hundreds of thousands of dollars cost range, not the millions of dollars that we're looking at for some of the big combined sewer projects that don't have as much benefit as this is a fairly easy fix. It's a fairly low-hanging fruit with a relatively low budget. We are seeking, as you know, a couple of other funding sources to try to get this work done. Don't think that any one of those sources by themselves would be enough to get the project done, but if we can combine some ARPA funding with CDBG funding and other funding, it might be what's necessary to actually make this happen. It's our second priority. And then we had listed the Jackson Street sewer separation.
Can I stop you again for 1 second? So, if I heard you correctly, not doing it is costing us money.
It's costing us money every day because there's water going from the pond into our sewer system that's getting treated every day. When it rains, and we get a lot of rain, some of that flow gets redirected, gets combined with sewage and gets redirected and then discharged directly into the Connecticut River untreated because our sewers can't handle it.
Okay, thank you.
And our last project was the Jackson Street Sewer Project. That's a project that's ongoing right now. One of those large projects that I referenced. What we're asking for here, if it was approved, would be to help fund a relatively small piece of the ongoing project, with the primary benefit being that there would be a slight reduction in terms of the cost that would be carried on to the ratepayers. But that project is going to happen. It's happening today, and will happen regardless of whether or not we receive ARPA funding for it.
And Mike, I think you had indicated it was about 7 cents? Is that what?
About that. My back of the envelope calculation, because the bond isn't final. So I was looking at an earlier draft schedule. And based
So it
on
might
that
be just
draft
a little
schedule,
higher than that?
Could be a little less.
Okay.
So I'll start the wrap up and then
Yeah.
Mike can jump in. We really, from a DPW standpoint, look at the ARPA funding as an opportunity that we perhaps could get some things done that we really need to get done, but unfortunately we're not going to be able to get them done within our existing budget. And again, as an opportunity, as opposed to trying to do something that we already have budgeted, looking to try to reduce the cost of it. Really, there are things we need to get done that we just aren't getting done right now, and we really see this as an opportunity to help us accomplish those things.
Right. And the ARPA money is like a once in 100 years opportunity. It's like WPA. There's a lot of buildings in Holyoke that were funded through that project that are still here today. That we see it as a similar opportunity for us to invest in our infrastructure. And the sewer infrastructure specifically, with other bills that Congress is talking about with that infrastructure bill, we don't really see there being opportunity to fund these types of projects in that infrastructure bill. So really, this is our one shot at getting this work done.
Okay.
And I have to give credit to the folks that came before us, a couple of generations before us, that built much of this. Here's a way for us to retain that
Yep.
investment and carry that investment forward instead of letting what was put in the ground fail
Yep.
and end up having to rebuild it all.
Okay. So, just one more question about the sewer system rehab. So, I know we talked 10%, the 5 million could get us 10%. But am I correct in assuming that while we have 100 miles, maybe 50 of that miles is in need of repair and 50 might be okay, or no? Or is it all?
Quite possibly, yeah.
Because there are some parts
within
of
the
Holyoke that are a lot
downtown
newer.
We have, for instance, some of our better old sewers are the brick sewers that were constructed one brick at a time. That said, they're in decent shape now, they're not failing, but if we don't do something about them, we know that at some point in the future they would fail. On the other hand, we have unlined or unreinforced concrete pipes that are just falling apart. They're 100 and something years old now, and the corrosion from the sewage has completely worn those pipes away, and if we don't get something done with them immediately, they will fail. So we should do both.
And these would be the more downstream pipes, which are the larger pipes. And the larger pipes are more expensive to fix than the smaller pipes that are up off Bemis or Westfield Road, which would be cheaper. And like you said, newer and not in critical.
Yeah. Okay. Well, first of all, I appreciate both of the work you've done on this. I appreciate the additional thought and into the sewer system rehab, because I don't think people are aware of the potential dangers that were there. Certainly I think getting this information is helpful. This has been being televised now. I'm not sure how many people are watching in the middle of the daytime, but it's also being televised over the weekend. I'm trying to let the public know as much as possible about all the programs. And so I know Channel 15 is covering it Saturday and Sunday, and people can actually, they're trying to design it so people can actually, I want to listen to the sewer situation. I want to listen to the water situation or whatever else is going to be out there. So you may be hearing comments from me. I'm sure I'm going to hear comments from people, because this has definitely opened the process up. We're behind in turn. I was hoping that last night the city council would have been in a position to actually start having at least the Citizens Advisory Council recommendations, and hopefully have made some recommendations, but right now we're trying to find a schedule that works to get that back on track. If we were to get this and you knew it by September 15th, are we still talking a significant amount of work on the sewers for the fall? Or iffy?
Yeah, it's really not season dependent, this work.
Oh.
They could do this work with 3 feet of snow on the ground, because it's all underground.
Yeah. Okay. We got to get there, though.
We don't want 3 feet of snow on the ground.
No.
At least I don't. My kids do.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your, I know it was kind of an abrupt schedule, but I'm just trying to give people opportunity to hear. So thank you very much.
Thank you.